All right, Alan Mayberry.
Okay, cool. All right. Thank you, Carl. Well, it's good to be back in New Orleans again in November. I always enjoy this conference, and I really give kudos to the Pipeline Safety Trust for putting this conference on and bringing, you know, such diverse groups together. I think I'm better for it. I hear a perspective that I think I need to hear. We all need to hear on the regulator side. I think it just helps all of us sort of stay balanced and focused on the ball of pipeline safety. So commend you for and the venue is obviously excellent as well. Here to talk to you about a metrics initiative. You know, and I've been involved in policymaking for about the last 10 years, almost 10 years. And I would say there's no better example of embracing the conflict, if you will, than developing metrics, than coming up with metrics and agreeing on metrics or trying to agree on metrics. And I would say that, you know, we look for, and actually the initiative I'm going to talk about, we went into it looking for agreement on, that means thumbs up, on what we could all agree on were metrics that were reflective of the performance of the pipeline industry. I must say we also, and I've had to do this over the last almost 10 years, is, you know, we do have the thumbs up, we have the thumbs down vote, but I think the outcome many times ends up being the thumbs sideways, which is kind of the tacit support. It could go either way. We many times look for that, so that's kind of a third vote, maybe as we try to end up with a, you know, an outcome that's acceptable to all. In the area of metrics, I must say, you know, I think we have a good solution, a good start. We are issuing them. They are live now, and I'll have some links that I'll go through and show you that you can click on and play around with it and see. I think it'll be a valuable tool. I think it's an innovative tool that delivers on, definitely on the innovative piece of you know, our focus of safety, innovation, and trust. Certainly on the safety side of transparency and making data available, allowing people to see and be better educated on the statistics that are important related to pipeline safety. But definitely on the innovation, I think the tool is innovative. Actually, when I went into this, I thought we would end up with a set of data that would be on our website that were static, but actually they are regularly updated. So when you go in, you can actually you can see the data that's effective or valid as of that day. It changes daily, but also you can drill down in the data as well. And Carl alluded that a moment ago. Now I'm here speaking to you today, and I'm one of Jeff's deputies for policy and programs. But I tell you, I think Blaine Keener, who leads our data group in Washington, and his team have done an excellent job. I only wish Blaine could be here to give you this talk. I think he would. He knows our data systems well. He's really had some incredible ideas, and I think through his innovation, his team's innovation, we have the tool that's been rolled out that I think you'll find quite useful. I need to reiterate too that, and I've heard this in some circles, that, well, are we getting rid of access to data on our website? And no, this is not a replacement for anything that's on our website now. It's really an additional tool, and I'll go through what that tool is. I know you're on suspense. I'm still on the title slide here, but it's really an augmentation to the data we already have, and an improvement of transparency, a tool that is convenient for you to use to look at pipeline safety data that we identified on the gas side, and the ability to drill down and compare operators. But we'll get into that in a minute. As far as what we're looking for going into it, we're looking for measures on the operator and the regulator. Right now, and what you'll see is we actually have metrics that we develop for the operator, really operator level and overall industry level. The regulator side, as far as measuring us as a regulator, is still a work in progress. One of our challenges there is in data collection, and we have good data on federal inspection enforcement. Where we're missing is on the side of the states, and we have initiatives that we're looking forward to down the road to collect more state data on enforcement that will allow us to get a better picture nationally federal and state. And that's been one of our challenges and actually in some media articles, we've seen national data used, for instance, compare with inspection or enforcement data that's federal, and it's really comparing apples and oranges and hasn't really presented a accurate picture of what's going on. But that's a long-term goal, is to deal with the regulator measure as well. I mean, we're part of a link in the chain of pipeline safety, so that was one of our goals going into it, but we're just not there yet. We were looking at using currently available data, and then we also were looking to identify gaps for future information collection. Obviously, one on the state information collection is one I think we have an opportunity going forward on. And then there were two teams that were formed. I led the gas team, and then Linda led the liquid team. I think we were able to lasso some of the team members, including Carl and Samia, early on, and we were able to make some progress on developing some measures, or at least coming to some sense of tacit agreement on some of the measures. So we're ready to roll out our initial cut of the gas data. The liquid data is still a work in progress. We're also obviously going to, with our focus on transparency and improvement in the transparency, post the measures publicly. This is all based on data that's already in our databases. We're just massaging that data and presenting it to you, the public, in a way that's easily understood. Hopefully easily understood. We had representation on the teams from all the stakeholders. I was co-chair of the gas team along with Christina Sames, who's in the other room. We also had a number of members represent, of course, Carl and Samia from the Pipeline Safety Trust. We had John Erickson, Max Stennett representing American Public Gas Association, Pete Chase from Ohio representing NAPSR, Scott Currier, Steve Potts from representing industry on the gas side, along with Terry Boss and more recently Wendy Waxter. So those are our team members. And moving on to, as far as what information is available on our website, and there's a lot of information. One of the complaints I hear quite a bit is there's just so much information it's hard to find. Again, that was one of the reasons we were rolling out this tool, is to select a group of measures that conveniently allow you to see the performance of industry. So, obviously we collect data on accidents and incidents. We have pipeline and facility characteristics collected through the annual report. We also collect that through the National Pipeline Mapping System. We also have an enforcement and inspection data that is posted online as well for federal enforcement data inspections. And then, of course, there are integrity management data as well that operators are required to report every year, and we post that on our website. And that's broken down in different ways: the operator-specific data that you can access, and then national aggregate. And then there's a new term that's being introduced in this link, or in this tool, safety program. I think that's a tool that's been asked for. I know certainly the Pipeline Safety Trust has brought that up before as being a nice to have, or something we need to have. And that allows you to see the connectedness between operators, or between parent companies and subsidiaries. Like Kinder Morgan is a number of assets, a number of pipeline operators with under the Kinder Morgan. So you can look at it at the high level Kinder Morgan level, or you can look at it also, you can see who reports up to the main operators. It's set up for all of our operators, from the liquid operators, the gas transmission, the distribution. We have so that's the safety program relationship, and I'll point that out where that is on our tool that we have here. That was something I think is very useful. Also, it allows you to compare operators as well. When we were looking and meeting and looking at trying to come to agreement or some consensus on the metrics, we basically broke them down in the groups that you see here: protecting people and the environment, maintaining pipeline safety, protection for high consequence areas. It's integrity management related data that operators report. Smart modernization of pipeline infrastructure. Those are really measures of vintage pipe, for instance, or inventory of pipe by vintage. And then effective regulatory oversight. As I said, that's still a work in progress there. By saying that, work in progress, the data is still on our website. It's just what's the best measure is what we're trying to wrestle right now. Now let me move from the team and what the work we did to the actual measures we ultimately identified on the gas side. The first slide here is for gas distribution. The next slide coming up will be gas transmission. And by the way, there's a link, if you will, on the top there that will take you to another screen that will show you this data. And I'll go through like what you'll go to next when you click on this. But here are the ones for distribution. We have serious incidents per mile. That's a trend line and along with a pie chart with causal factors. We have significant incidents per mile. There are three trends on that. And those would be like all incidents involving evacuation, and then incidents involving public property damage. There's three trends on that one measure. Leaks per mile, or I'm sorry, that's leaks per 1,000 miles, actually. When you're talking about this stuff, normalization is something we had a lot of conversation about. A lot of our data traditionally has been reported as numbers, like number of incidents. But we felt that normalizing it, showing a rate that is per mile was important. So that's, in this case, we have leaks per 1,000 miles. Excavation damage, we have a couple of trends on that. Cast iron and wrought iron, that's a measure, obviously, of modernization. You know, we look for that number as we see a trend for inventory of cast and wrought iron. We look for that, you know, we want that to go down over time. And that is, if you look at the trend charts, it has been going down. I think also in our call to action, the Secretary's call to action, our challenging of industry to really address aging infrastructure, which, by the way, I'll be talking about tomorrow. I think we've seen that come down even faster, but there's still a lot more work to be done on that area. Then there's a measure, again, on infrastructure and what's in the ground, what's good infrastructure and in the ground, bare and unprotected steel. There are three trends on that reflect pipe that is not protected cathonically. That's what we mean. It doesn't have cathonic protection or protection against corrosion on it. And then there's also miles by decade installed, just to measure an inventory of what's in the ground. Okay, next we're going to go to, I think I did something bad, okay. No. The transmission measures, we have serious incidents per mile. Again, the link there, it's the same link, but within that one link you can go to both. Serious incidents per mile, again, we modeled this after where we can, parallels to the distribution, so incidents are similar, like serious. And by the way, serious incidents, I think it's been brought up before, but serious means there was a death or an injury involving hospitalization, an incident involving death or injury that involved hospitalization. We also have onshore significant incidents per mile. Note onshore, that's not offshore. We're looking at pipelines, really focused on pipelines near people. In what we call HCAs or high consequence areas, and in non-HCA high consequence or non-high consequence areas. So again, trends and cause, you'll get the causal factors in a pie chart with that. And then the next two are related to integrity management and reports that we receive on what operators do in high consequence areas. The number of immediate repairs per mile in a trend. The number of HCA leaks, and the number of HCA leaks also in a trend. Now the factor there on ILI detectability, you know, the focus there is if there was a leak or if there was a repair or if there was a leak, was it ILI detectable or not, or was it caused by a non-time dependent issue like third-party damage? And that differentiates between operator or maintenance that's within the operator's control, which was, say, an issue that was detectable by ILI that's within the operator's control, or one that was perhaps outside the operator's control, which might be third-party damage. So we differentiated between that. And by the way, these two were subject of a lot of discussion, a lot of thumbs down, thumbs up, thumbs sideways. This is one that we're still looking at. We have the trend and we're putting it out there. We're still working on the narrative for it because we have to be careful because you know, a high number of immediate repairs could be a bad thing. It could be a good thing. It could be a good thing because, on the good side of things, operators are better able to detect anomalies. They're detecting more, and we're seeing more reported. It could also be an issue that, hey, there's something going on the pipeline. So you have to be careful in how you judge it. Just looking at the number and saying it's high or saying it went up may not necessarily be bad. It may be a reflection of, well, the operator's, you know, inspecting more and taking more action. So that's one where, and I really haven't talked about it too much here, but where one single data point really isn't reflective of the state of pipeline safety, obviously. Usually it takes a number of metrics that you piece together to look at and say, okay, that's, you have an idea of what's going on. So, you know, that might be something that's, you might match up with, say, incident history, or you might match up with our inspection records and that sort of thing to get a picture of whether or not things are good, thumbs up, or things are not so good with a particular system. Steel miles, again, an inventory of what's in the ground and bare and unprotected steel miles, two trends on that. Miles by decade installed, onshore pipeline significant incident rates per decade. That's a one I thank Carl and Samia for providing. It's the infamous bathtub curve that I do talk about a bit tomorrow in my Does Age Really Matter discussion. But that's the one that by decade of pipeline installed, it'll show you the incident rate. And kind of an interesting chart. And talking with Linda, here's a draft of where they are currently with measures, but this is only a draft. We're really not releasing this yet, but it's still a work in progress. I know she's still, we're still working through that, but this is kind of where the liquid team has or where they stand right now. Now, there's another issue here too that Linda and I both being, you know, I've been dealing with gas, she's dealing with liquid. We need to kind of resolve any differences because it'd be best to have a similar set of metrics so you don't have, you know, you can't really have different metrics unless it's relevant to liquid line versus gas. Obviously, gas lines don't have spills, they have releases of gas, release of methane versus spill of oil and, you know, measured that way. Differences like that, which are obvious. But stay tuned on that. Now, when you click on the link that and I apologize for the busyness of this chart, but the purpose of really this is to go through sort of as we call it the anatomy of the screen that you'll be taken to that shows the data. And there's certain key parts of that, and I've circled them here, you know, up at the top. And I'll go through each one real quickly, but you have each different part of it that shows the title, the analysis, gives you analysis. It shows the chart, and then explains other things like terms and conditions. I'll get into those and try not to get into the weeds too much. But anyway, first off, on the title, obviously, it'll give you the name of the chart. In this case, in the boxed in area, gas transmission onshore significant incident rate, incidents per 1,000 miles, gives you the date, and it's real time, is run, you know, as of 4:48 on that date, gives you the source. That's pretty obvious thing. There's an analysis And this, as we look to reconvene the team, we're going to be going through this and trying to refine how we develop the narrative for the incidents. But this is the analysis portion of, okay, you see this incident, you see this trend line, what is it showing us? So that's the purpose of the analysis portion of the screen that you're looking at. Then there's the chart itself. Now the chart may be a line chart, as you see here. It may be a bar chart or maybe a pie chart, and we use them in combination. One of the challenges, and this is one of the more complicated ones, we would come up with metrics we thought made sense, but then we would put them in a format like this, and it would be ridiculously busy, crazy. It really wasn't helpful at all. Therein lies one of the other challenges that really is facing a lot of people, not just us, in data visualization and just better ways to portray data. So that's one of the challenges we work through as we try to get to consensus on measures. Okay, moving on the chart, good, I guess engineers dreamed to talk about things like this, numerator and denominator. But this is where we normalize data, where we have like incident numbers, and then we show the number of incidents that make up the data that's in the chart that's displayed right above this, and then the denominator of pipeline miles, for instance, in this case, to get a number. That's just to further explain the data. And then at the very bottom, terms and conditions, realizing that this is a tool the public will use just to define. I mean, people don't know what significant incidents are. That sounds like, wow, that's a major incident. But it's a specific definition that we use for significant, and it's identified right there. So terms and conditions, related to other measures, it also has similar definitions of the terms that are used. There's a link on the page for, okay, I'm going to wrap it up here really close to the end. There's also a report details link where you can click on and see the reports, every report that made up the data that you're seeing on the chart. So it allows you on that one screen, you can click and go to every report that makes up the data. And then there's another link related to operator. You can click and see all the operators that make up the data and ranked on how, how they rank in that chart. And then further on, there's the new kind of safety program view link that shows how operators are related, the Kinder Morgans to the plantation pipelines or the other subsidiaries or other, not to pick on Kinder Morgan Buzz, I'm sorry, but other operators as well that have, intertwined, have numerous operating entities under a holding company or other organization. As far as our next steps, we're going to reconvene the team. No, another meeting, sorry. But we're looking to as in using Carl's standard of thumbs up or thumbs down, looking to get that on the narratives that we've developed and also to refine those narratives. We've done a lot of work on those in the meantime. We're going to look at improvements. This is our starting point. Where can we improve? What do we need to do going forward? And then also address enforcement-related metrics. And I think with that, I will look forward to questions at the end. Thank you very much.